Welcome to the Business Talk, a global podcast series that highlights distinguished faculty members and their impactful scholarly contributions. I'm Deepak, your host from India. On today's episode of Business Talk, we have the privilege of welcoming a guest whose work quietly shapes how markets speak the language of numbers. Our story begins in Jerusalem, at the Hebrew University of Business School, where Dr. Keren Bar Hava leads the accounting department and helps define national standards as a member of the Israel Accounting Standards Board. She has spent her career at the intersection of financial reporting and market efficiency, asking sharp questions about corporate governance, fair value versus historical cost, and what happens when countries adopt international financial reporting standards in practice rather than just on paper. Her curiosity and rigor have taken her far beyond the walls of one institution. Trained at Tel Aviv University with a PhD in accounting and finance, an MSc in economics, and a BSc in economics and accounting, and refined through postdoctoral work at New York University, Dr. Keren Bar Hava's research now appears in leading journals, including the Journal of Accounting, Auditing and Finance, and the Journal of Financial and Quantitative Analytics, as well as in the publications of the European Corporate Governance Institute. Her ideas often travel further, finding their way into the Israeli financial press and into policy and boardroom conversations. But this is not just a story of academic titles. Over the years, she has taken a seat at the regulatory and corporate tables, serving as a full member of the Israeli Securities Authority and as an external director in several Israeli companies. That experience means her classroom is never just about theory. It is a place where regulation, governance, and loud board dynamics meet. At the Hebrew University Business School, she guides students through the fundamentals of accounting, financial accounting, and contemporary matters in the Israeli capital market. And she brings these themes together in her Hebrew book, Numbers and What's Between Them, Reading Financial Reports and Understanding the Business Environment, helping readers see the world behind the figures. She has recently published a Wall Street Journal opinion piece examining how corporate reports are increasingly written for AI readers, highlighting how management adapts disclosures in response to algorithmic analysis, and has also conducted influential research on semi-annual reporting, an empirical study at the center of ongoing US regulatory debates, cited both in SEC policy proposals and by their critics. Today, the story turns to a question as humans as it is technical. What really happens when independent directors resign? In this episode, Professor Keren Bar Hava joins us to explore her groundbreaking research, asking whether independent directors truly tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when they step down, and what that honesty or lack of it means for investors, companies, and markets. Without further delay, it is my great pleasure to welcome Professor Keren Bar Hava to the Business Talk. Professor Keren, thank you for accepting our invitation and joining for us today.
Thank you very much, Deepak. It's my honor to be here with you. You are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you. Professor, in your study, you suggest that independent directors often resign to protect their own reputation when they foresee weak future performance rather than to clearly signal problems to shareholders. How did you arrive at this insight? And what does it reveal about the personal calculus behind a director's decision to leave?
Okay, so I like to do my research on my own experience. I'm a board member in many Israeli and even US company. And it was my second board that I didn't want to be part of. And as I was afraid to write something rude or something that will ruin my future career. So I was afraid about my reputation, and I was also afraid from the manager of the company. So I started thinking, what do other people say? And that's how the research started. I was a visiting professor at NYU, and I did the research on US data. So the motivation was like really mine. And I just must say that the research is co-author with Professor Sterling Hong, Benjamin Segal, and Danny Segal.
Thank you. Professor, find that the likelihood of resignation actually increases with a director's reputation and with weak future performance. Why are highly reputable directors more likely to walk away in advance? And how does this behavior challenge the usual narrative of reputational capital as a force for stronger monitoring?
Okay, so there are some kind of a board member. Everyone wants to be a board member, but there are board members of one small company, so he will not resign. And there are busy directors that are working in the same time in some boards, and this one they can choose. So we define the reputational director that they have many boards or that they are in a boards in a very in a company with a very high market value. So this is reputational director. They are afraid from the reputation. So we differentiate between two kind of director, and the more reputational are afraid from their career, they have only board member has only the reputation, so they need to keep it.
Professor, the paper shows that resigning directors frequently provide benign and unverifiable reasons, such as personal or other professional commitments that may mask
Yeah,
deeper governance concerns. Can you
yeah.
walk us through?
I
Yeah. Can you walk us through how you distinguish between genuine personal reason and strategic obfuscation in your empirical analysis?
Yeah, I will start with the announcement from the 8K from the last week. I think this announcement is very rare and precise, and she explained exactly our research in a different kind of way. Let's see. The announcement is an 8K announcement of a man called Mike Everson. He was a board member in a company called Fermi, and he said, I quoted what he said, I'm not resigning for personal reason due to time constraint or as part of an ordinary course board transition. I resign because of A, B, C, D. So this is a very rare announcement. I had it in the LinkedIn. Everyone copy it and repost it because most of the director like to write something vague. Bennigan, they don't like to write the truth, so they write personal reason, being with my family, things that are very hard to verify. So they want to protect themselves. So this and 61% of the announcement, the resignation of the independent director is no disagreement. We have no issue with the company. Everything is okay. So this issue, I think, is very, very important. And after my research, there is a new research of Professor Asaf Eckstein and Ziv Gronov from the Hebrew U. And I find only 1.6% of director that announced disagreement. My research is 2004 until 2012. The other research is published in 2024, and the number of disagreement even decrease, only 0.5% right disagreement. It means that the director that need to take care of the corporate governance, first of all, they have a dark side. They concerned about themselves, their reputation, more than the company. And this issue is very important because we trust them. The regulation in the US that you talked about it before, in the US, Trump wants to move to semi-annual reports. And the issue that is that director that have their own dark side should be responsible for us. So when the SEC proposal, I think they believe that the director are perfect. And as we see the trend over time, the director take care of themselves more than the company. And it's an issue that we need to discuss.
Professor, your title asks whether independent directors tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when they resign. After doing this research, how would you answer that question in practice? And what kind of half-truth or omission did you find most common in resignation disclosures?
Okay, so like I said before, I went to NYU. We started the research manually to read announcement after announcement and divide them to the like no disagreement, personal reason, retirement, health issue. We took all kind of, I couldn't use a research assistant because we needed to really understand the issue. So if you take with people from the industry, they told me, of course, no one say the truth, but in the academic, no one document that. So we are the first to document that the director write part of the truth. Maybe they have personal issue, but you cannot verify that. So we took all kind of letters. We have more than 5,000 letters. We started with 200 announcement, but then we took only the clean one, that only one director resigned, that there was no other things in the 8K. We started with 200,000 observation. We left with a final sample of more than 5,000. We have like 3,000 firm, and we have a very exciting data, but 61% of the people say there is no disagreement. And I want to add something. I started the research with my colleagues because I resigned from a board member. But most of the country, you can be board member, and like in this afternoon, I saw one of my friend that is working as a director. He is sitting in at least 10 boards at the same time. So you don't need to resign. You meet once in a month, even once in a quarter. So when independent outside director resign, it's a bad signal. He can do it. It's a partial job. You can do other things. So when outside director resign, independent outside, you should see what's going on. And you will not learn it from his letter because the announcement that I quoted before, it's very rare one.
Professor, one striking result is that investors react negatively to resignations, but still underreact overall, possibly because of the benign reasons disclosed. What does this underreaction tell us about how markets process soft information? And do you think investors should be reading resignation announcement very differently?
So this is a very nice question. Market reaction is negative when outside director. If you cannot verify what he say, like if it's a retirement, you can see his age and you can see if it's okay. You can verify it objectively. But if director resign from personal reason, you cannot verify it. And the market react negatively, like on average. 0.5% negative. But this is not the whole issue. The independent director resign when he know that there is a abnormal return, bad abnormal return in the year before, but you don't live now for what happened before because the market knows that. They resign because they know the future performance. They are not, don't think after this conversation that as a board member I can influence the performance, but the manager influence the performance, the director only monitor them. But if he knows the situation, bad corporate governance, bad performance, so he leaves not because of past performance, because of future performance. He's afraid from the future performance. Like once I was a board member in a mutual fund that they had a lousy year. So when I went into the street, everyone said, "Oh, because of you, I spent money there." You don't want to be part. You want to be part of the large firm, the successful one. You have just your reputation.
Professor, in your view, how should sophisticated investors, such as institutional funds or activist shareholders, build resignations of independent directors into the risk assessment and governance monitoring, given your evidence on both signaling and obfuscation?
Yeah. if we talk about anyway, firms that have institutional holders must have a better corporate governance because they are very active in monitoring the firm. But also we saw that the analysts, when they see that independent director resign, they know what it means more than the audience outside the retail investor and the other investor. If they have institutional investor and analyst, they understand the influence. Independent director, like most of my friends are independent director. Some of them don't like to talk with me because they want me to help them find boards, and I can't. So this is a very, I think, highly profession. Everyone wants to be board member. Like we have like lot of education for being board member. Everyone, it's like the dream of everyone, not only in Israel, also in the US. So analysts understand if independent director resign, they immediately decrease the rating. They understand that very well. Okay. So I think there is what to do with it. You can see it by the analyst.
Professor, your findings suggest that independent directors' personal reputation concerns may conflict with shareholder interest, despite their fiduciary duty and supposed impartiality. How should boards, regulators, and shareholders rethink the role and design of independent directorship in light of this tension?
Great question. When I was part of the Israeli Security Authority at the time of this research, so I suggested that the ISA and also institutional investors should do it, should be connected to the independent director to call them quietly for investigation. No one should know and ask them what's going on in this company. Is there something we need to know? I think it's crucial because they understand that everyone do not say the truth. So this is my this what I think. Also, there is another issue. I know about the institutional holder in Israel that they have like a list of director and a blacklist of director. And I think that they, as I see it in February 5th, 2024, I resigned differently. I decided to resign and say, like, I'm old enough to say whatever I want. I resigned from a huge insurance company in Israel, and I wrote, I resigned because I don't like the corporate governance here. A, B, C, D. And that time my mom called me and said, "Oh, I'm ashamed of you." Lots of people calling me saying, "What will we do? What's going on with Keren? Why did she say the truth?" And I must say that I was sure I have many boards, but at that time that I will never get, like, I was A list, and now after telling the truth, I will not get any boards anymore. And I must say that the institutional investors are still looking, it's rare, but for the people who will say the truth. So I encourage independent director to tell the truth, especially the one with the reputation, because they should not be afraid. But this is the thing that institutional holders follow you. And we can talk about it in another conversation about the payment also with the institutional holders. They have a black list and a white list. And if you want to be in the white list, it's okay to tell the truth. There is a cost for telling the truth. It was the first time my mom said, "I'm ashamed of you. Why did you need to say it? Why can't you be like everyone else?" But I believe there is a good point also.
Professor, independent directors are torn between speaking truth to power and protecting themselves from legal, reputational, or career risk. What practical reforms around disclosure rules, legal protection, or board culture could help align between the exit behavior more closely with shareholder welfare?
Yeah. So I think they need, it's an issue because, like I said before, telling the truth has a price. I remember all manager of the Israeli big bank calling me, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say the truth. Can't you be like everyone else? Just resign quietly like everyone else. So I felt like I'm going to pay a huge price. And I even volunteer in a nonprofit organization because I said no more boards. I don't want to be part of a board. But I think that the highly reputation people do not need to think about themselves. They need to think about the culture. They need to be more educated to tell the truth. At least if they're so afraid, they can go to the SEC or to talk with the institutional investor or analyst because they are responsible. The thing is that independent director should monitor the CEO. So if they monitor only their own reputation, I think it's really a dark side of the independent director. They will not like me talking about it, but this is the truth.
Professor, behind the scenes, your study relies on large sample evidence to measure future firm performance, resignation timing, and the language of resignation reasons. What were some of the methodological challenges in turning these very human, nuanced decisions into data? And how did you address concerns about causality versus correlation?
So we have, I told you, like 5,000 clean observation. We use just to make sure that the research is okay. We talk about future performance and past performance. So we used ROI. We use cumulative abnormal return for the before and after. We look very important at the cash flow, the abnormal cash flow with matching firm before and after. We look at the we had like lots of tables. We look at the each kind of table to the verified and unverified reason. We like try everything and it was a lot of econometrics and a lot of data. And from that data, I didn't know it before. I know only about my intuition, but I didn't know it before. But we find that the result shows significantly that director resign when was bad and it's going to be bad. Like the abnormal return after is more than 6% minus the matching the industry. So they don't live just for fun so we did like everything we could with the data to get these results.
Professor, I would like to conclude this episode with one last question. Stepping back from the numbers, how does this research change the way you personally read a director's resignation letter or a company's board announcement, especially in high-profile governance crises? And what should board learn about exit narratives from your work?
So when you read the resignation, I suggest that you take the resignation and you compare the result of the profit. You will find out probably with a high probability that the director does not resign just for fun or for the family. Like you can today with the Zoom meeting like we're doing right now, you can be a board member and be in a vacation in Mykonos if you want. So if they resign, there is an issue. And if you see outside director resign, you should start asking the question, what were the results before and how the company looks in comparison to the to our industry and to see if other people also, it's not part of the research, but you can see if other people resigned, like CEO or CFO, COO, what's going on in the firm. This is a red flag when the independent director resign. It's a red flag. Not you don't need two or three to resign. I'll just say that we have other research with Professor Baruch Lev and Fengu about busy director that resign. We after this research, we took the data and look at those director who resign, and we find out that when you resign from for one board out of 5, it's different when you resign to 1 out of 3 or 2. And when it means the director can be part, like I in this lunch before this Zoom, I saw my friend that is a board member in 10 boards. There is no maximum. If some country have a maximum boards that you can serve, but most in the US, in Israel, you don't have a maximum limit. So if director resign one day, it's a being director is working like one day out of month. If director resign, it's a red flag, a very red flag, unless you can verify the reason, like retirement, like the company, a big transaction that they replace or the director. If not, it's a problem.
Listeners, to bring our conversation to a close, I want to thank Professor Keren Bar Hava for sharing such thoughtful and eye-opening research insights on how and why independent directors choose to resign. Professor, your work shines a light on a part of corporate governance that is often overlooked yet crucial for investors, boards, and regulators alike. We hope today's discussion help our listeners read boardroom signals more carefully and think more critically about the stories behind resignation letters. Thank you for joining us on Business Talk, and for our audience, thank you for listening. Until next time. It has been an absolute privilege and genuine honor to host you on Business Talk, Professor Keren Bar Hava. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I enjoy. Thank you very much.